Ons volgende gast is in die atelier. I'm going to give it my best English this morning. Marc, Latilla and Yeshiel, Panchia.
Hi there, thanks for having us.
Yes,
thank you very
it's
much.
not punching her, it's Panchia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Spot
so
on.
we could just get that right. We're talking about this amazing book. I went through it this morning. I was out of office when it arrived yesterday. Johannesburg Then and Now. But before we get to the book, it's we've got the author, Marc, and then also the photographer on the book. But Marc, let's start with you. Background, you in the music, but you know, just who are you? Why you love Joburg? Just a bit of background.
I was born in Joburg and so lived here my whole life. Lived in various houses and flats. Lived in Kensington and Hillbrow for most of my life. Basically, I'm in the music business. Work with Warner Music, and the passion for the Johannesburg started actually when we looked at plans for our house in Melville and discovered that the house was almost 100 years old. And it was from looking at those plans that the whole interest in Johannesburg started.
But if I'm maybe I'm wrong, but when he was your boss at some stage, what's your background? How did that happen?
So I used to work in digital marketing, and Marc was my boss, which is how we met. And then I left that field to pursue a career in photojournalism.
Yes.
So when Marc had the book began, he was like, well, I need a photographer. Who am I going to reach out to? And he reached out to me. And it's great because we work pretty well together. We know each other, and we both have a passion for Joburg.
But you were a bit surprised about Joburg.
Yeah, I learned a lot about the city. You know, growing up on the East Rand and having traveled around the city for work, I thought that I knew a lot about the city. And photographing for this book has really been an experience and has taught me a lot more about Joburg's history than I used to know.
But you've got a degree in psychology.
Yes,
that's correct. And then was it just a hobby, the photography?
It was. I was planning on having a more stable career, and then decided to throw it all away to work for the news.
There's a lot of psychology in photography, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, at month end, you have to kind of, like psychoanalyze yourself when there's bills to pay. So
that's so funny. Marc, but you've got this blog. It's very interesting.
Yes.
The writing side, being into music, but where's the love for writing coming from?
I don't really know. I think really what I wanted to do with the blog was when I started researching Johannesburg and reading about the city, I found that there's a lot of material out there. A lot of it, unfortunately, is out of print. So I started buying up all of these books on the city, and then on reading all of them, I found that there wasn't like one place where you could find all the information. So the blog was really a way to pull all the interesting things that I found and put it into one place. And I guess the writing just, came as a result of that.
With a photo book such as this, how important is that background study or that research that you need to do?
It's so important.
Is it?
One of the interesting things is a lot of people go to the internet. It's sort of your first port of call for anything to do with sort of history. And what I discovered was that a lot of the stuff on the internet, a lot of it is wrong. So someone went and read a piece of information, put it up either on Wikipedia or on a website, and that information gets sort of copied and pasted across a whole lot of different sites. But if the first part of the information is incorrect, it then sort of, travels across the internet incorrectly. So a lot of what we have to do is look at different sources to make sure that the dates and the architects and whatever information is correct. And that's what we try to do with this book, to make sure that it was factually accurate.
Wow.
Ongelooflik, want dis die ou foto's, old pictures, and then with the new pictures. And I just opened here on the Nelson Mandela Bridge, and for our listeners to explain it, it's just the whole book to compare the old to the new. And I actually got friends that had a flat there that I think they bought it for 400,000, and it was just a shelf years ago. Neil Brun, he's into movies, and it's on that Nelson Mandela Bridge. It was just amazing. So what was the biggest, Marc, surprising thing of Joburg for you? Was there something that surprised you? You thought, this history of this building is just amazing?
Of the actual bridge itself?
No, I think overall, through this whole project, was there one building that you realized the history is just amazing?
Jeez, there's so much. I mean, I suppose the ones that stand out for me are, in the book, is the Markham's building, which is one of the old Victorian buildings from 1895. There wasn't too much history on the building itself, but the fact that it's still there and sort of proportionately it looks completely out of place there in Elof Street. It has been restored. It has been changed over time, but to see it now is just fascinating. You'll see in the book as well, under Markham's, there's a picture of the inside of the clock tower. So we went in there a couple of years ago, and I made sure I had my phone with me and took all these amazing pictures. We tried to establish what happened to the motor, and we were looking at maybe trying to raise some money, but we had a clockmaker up there with us, and when he told us it was going to cost about 4 million rand to replace the motor, because the motor actually, there's 4 clock faces, and you can only see 3 of them because there's a building behind the one.
Yeah.
But it was fascinating to go up there. Everything's all woody and rickety, and it's an amazing view, even though it's only 5 stories high. But a fascinating building and sort of one of the heritage gems in Johannesburg.
So, Yeshiel, being the photographer, I mean, having a picture of the old building, did you try to come as close as that picture, or to that picture was just, your own feel?
It was a bit of a journey because my background's photojournalism. We actually had a bit of a problem with my pictures in the beginning because I kept on doing street photography instead of kind of architecture photography. But what we're trying to do is, obviously we want the reader to be able to see the old photograph and the new, and mainly understand and make clear the changes. But in some cases, it's not possible to take the exact photo. So whichever one gave the best kind of context was really what we went for. And I think overall we achieved that. We did have to make, take some from different angles and change it up a little bit. But overall, I think it's clear you can see the change and the transition of the city, which is the important thing.
Who's your market for this book? I'm looking now here at the Turbine Hall, and I was there with one of the art exhibitions. And it's just amazing. I mean, it's something that started happening in Cape Town quite a while, and it's new developments in Joburg now. I mean, it's 2 billion they're going to spend renewing the flats and the whole development, whereas these stuff is just amazing. But who do you want to buy this book?
I guess it's people with a passing interest in Johannesburg, as well as people who are really into heritage. One of the things we try to make sure with the book is to give a nice balance between people who like Joburg, they maybe live here but don't really know too much about the history. Some of the hardcore heritage people, we made sure there were some things in there that would surprise them. And I think from a tourist point of view as well, guys come to Joburg, I suppose maybe less often than Cape Town. Cape Town's always seen as the big tourist destination, but when guys come to Joburg, they're really, they're blown away by the city. And I think this is a nice little book to just give you a nice background on sort of what's there and what it's all about.
And it's like a little bit more accessible, I think, as well, because Joburg is like, in other countries, we're the little Dubai. We're the center of everything. The city, Joburg is a city. And even as a resident, it gives you a little bit of insight into, the place that you live that you maybe don't know all that much about.
How long did you work on this project?
It took about 18 months, and I brought Yeshiel in towards the end. So I was taking photographs beforehand and sending them to the publisher, and they're going, nah.
Yeah,
your photographs are rubbish.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of last minute, I was thinking, what can I do? What am I going to do? And for some reason, I thought of Yeshiel, and I should have thought of him much earlier. And he came in, and like literally the last 4 months, we were just shooting like every weekend. And of course, over December last year, we had, I think, the most amount of rain like ever in Joburg. And you can't shoot in the rain. And you also can't shoot in like really clear sky.
Overcast weather, they wouldn't take those photos. And I was still working at the newspaper, at the Citizen at the time. So in between news jobs, I'd like duck out and photograph a few buildings and then go back to a job. And then, it was chaos.
Yeshiel, maybe for someone who doesn't really know what photography is all about, what are some of the main elements that you need to consider when taking a perfect picture?
So, I mean, there's all the kind of, compositional elements, color, framing, all of that sort of thing. But I think the main thing, and again, maybe this is just my background in press, but even with the book is context. Is what a photograph is a representation. Is what you're representing, what you're trying to represent, and is it accurate? Am I telling the story of this building or this neighborhood or its history as best as I can? I think that's the main thing, the main elements in creating a good picture.
If I give you 50 million bucks, the two of you, but each on your own, which building will you go and buy? If you must choose in Joburg, out of this book, you must go and say, listen, I've been looking at this theatre.
He will fix
this
the
old
clock.
theatre with, and it was a garage next to it. And it's just amazing. It's still a garage next to it. It's got nothing to do with, it's just amazing.
Exactly. I don't know.
Windy Brow?
I would probably go with, if it wouldn't be an old mansion, it would probably be like a building in town maybe something like the Rissik Street Post Office, which would probably need more than that to restore it. It is being restored at the moment, but the progress is a little bit slow. It also has a huge clock tower at the top, which needs to be fully reworked. But I mean, that's like an amazing space. So definitely that one.
Also, to live and own in the post office would be pretty great. So
That would be great.
I think I'll go with the same one as Mark. Yeah.
I'll go for one of the Parktown mansions
Yes.
with my 50 million bucks. No, thank you so much. What an amazing project.
Yeah.
And I think everyone in Joburg and actually in South Africa can buy this because this city is part of us all. Thank you for visiting us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Thanks
so
for
much for
having
having
us.
us on the show,
Thank
guys.
you.